Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, currently in DSS custody, is now the subject of renewed calls for his freedom. The Abia State House of Assembly added their voices. At the House of Representatives, the call is loud too. The convener of Revolution Now, Omoyele Sowore, is currently planning a protest later this month. A protest former Vice President Atiku Abubakar has volunteered to join. With concerns for Nnamdi Kanu's health also on the front burner, is the light finally emerging at the end of his tunnel? This is the Eastern Eye. I am Alex Ogbodo. Welcome to the Eastern Eye, a program that X-rays the political, social, and economic developments around us. Joining me tonight is James Ngwu Eze. He's a journalist, a poet, and the CEO of Udala Tree Concept. Thank you so much.
I'm delighted to be here, Alex.
You're welcome back from your break.
Yes.
So, there is a video from the House of Reps I would like us to watch before we start the conversation.
Okay, great.
And it's from Honorable Agocha. It's from Abia State.
Okay.
And before that time, of course, the Abia State House Assembly, they've also had their own call for the release of Nnamdi Kanu. So let's listen to what Honorable Agocha has to say at the floor of the House.
Yes.
To draw the attention of Mr. Speaker and the House that on the 26th of August 2025, the House of Representatives, as well as a letter to the Attorney General of the Federation and a letter to Mr. President, urging for the urgent intervention request the deteriorating health conditions of my constituent Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. Up until today, Mr. Speaker, I have yet to receive any response from Mr. Speaker, from Mr. President, and from the Attorney General, despite the deteriorating health of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, whom has been evaluated by his own team of doctors and came up with a report which was attached to the letter that was submitted to Mr. Speaker and to the President, and as well to the Attorney General. Second evaluation has been conducted by the Nigerian Medical Association, and the results even further confirms the deteriorating health of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, that he has organ deficiencies, low potassium, and that he is, as we speak, on the verge of death. Mr. Speaker, at the instruction of the court instructed in 8 days for the Nigerian Medical Association to also do their own assessment. So there are 3 reports now, Mr. Speaker, all leading to the same direction. I quote the judge. The judge says, "It's only a man who is alive and living can trial." Mr. Speaker, this is not politics or any other thing, but it is a fundamental human right that should be ascribed to Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. Most other people in that gap have been given opportunities to even travel overseas to seek medical attention. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is neither convicted of any crimes in Nigeria and must be protected under the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So, Mr. Speaker, a lot of progress has been made in order to see that the government does the right thing to be able to afford Mazi Nnamdi Kanu the urgent treatment that he needs. It's significant, Mr. Speaker, if otherwise.
My dear Honorable colleague,
yes, sir.
I do not see where your privilege is conflicted here.
I have not received a letter that I wrote to the Speaker. I'm a member of the House, and my office deserves a response, whether it's positive or not. But as a member, and the letters were received by your office on the 27th of August, right here.
Is so the letter you wrote to Mr. Speaker's office just a notification?
Not a notification,
sir. For a certain action to be taken?
Yes, we requested for a certain action, which was to intervene in the medical condition of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, whom is now His health condition is deteriorating.
If it is something specific to the office of the Speaker, Honorable, I find it a little bit intriguing that you will come by way of a privilege to demand action to be taken.
Mr. Speaker, the letter was written.
The Speaker that you have direct
Mr. Speaker, the letter was written since August 26th.
You have direct, unfettered, Honorable,
yes, sir.
unfettered access to my office. This is not the kind of thing that I would expect that will come by way of privilege.
It is a matter of privilege.
It is. You know, a phone call from you, a visit to my office can solve the problem. So I don't think if...
Mr. Speaker, I've been to your office, Mr. Speaker.
So you mean
I've
you
also
have
submitted the letter,
all
Mr.
options
Speaker.
and opportunities. You couldn't see me except here.
I've come to your office, Mr. Speaker. We just resumed today.
I don't think
We just resumed today, Mr. Speaker. And it's very important, Mr. Speaker.
Please, Honorable,
please.
Honorable, please
Please be guided.
down because it is not the right thing to do.
Yes.
Please, I beg you, step it down.
Please be guided, Mr. Speaker. Please be guided, Mr. Speaker. It's a matter of life and death.
Please,
My position of life is guided.
I am trying to tell you the procedure. This is not right. Step it down and see me if you want any action concerning any letter you have written to me. You don't need to go by way of this.
The House rules, excuse me, sir. The House rules allows me the latitude to bring an issue of privilege to this House and to the attention of Mr. Speaker. And it is important, Mr. Speaker, that this House
only when your
takes
privilege
cognizance
is compromised
of the issue of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu.
that you can bring it up. And I thought that particular position is talking in respect of instances where the issues is beyond your control. But this is not what a letter from you to from yourself to me.
Yes, sir. The
When
letter
you
is
have
here.
as a member
Mr. Speaker.
direct access to come to my office and seek for explanation.
Mr. Speaker,
Why?
I've been
Why
to
do
your
you have to
office.
go through this?
I've been to your office to seek the Speaker.
Please.
Excuse me, sir. Can you read the order book, Rule 6 and subsection 2, to know that I also have the right?
So everything falls flat on the face of technicalities here. My mind quickly comes to what transpired at the Senate when it was time to honor Professor Humphrey Nwosu by renaming the INEC headquarters after him. So this was exactly the same response that was given, that they would have done it differently. So each time it is someone from the Southeast, they never follow due process. Okay, let's take a look at it again. You wrote a letter to the office of the Speaker and got no response. And is it not baffling that Mr. Speaker comes to the House and says that you should have come to
his house,
come to his knees and beg? So please help me make sense of this, because we listen to this, and what I understand Mr. Speaker is saying, that okay, you brought a letter. Obviously, from the way he's sounding, he hasn't read that letter, because the way he's responding, he's not responding like someone who's seen the content of that letter. Please help me make sense of it.
No, there is sadly very little meat left on those bones to pick. I dare say, my brother Alex. You know what we've just watched on this video clip is a sad reflection of the realities, you know, of the Nigerian life. You know, how our big men, you know, make light of the offices they occupy, in the sense that there is no reason why Mr. Speaker, you know, would be insisting right on the floor, you know, that the matter should have been discussed, you know, in private. You know, that he would probably, by telling Honorable Agwocha, right? Agwocha, that, you know, his strategy was inherently flawed. Flawed in what sense? A matter as grave as the one that Honorable Agwocha was presenting before the House. Why would Mr. Speaker insist on being consulted privately? You know, it's the way that we approach things in this country when it has very little, or we assume that you know, it has little to do with us, with our comfort, maybe with our zone, with our ethnicity. We can play Ludo with other people's interests. It's a terrible tragedy, you know, so to speak. Even if it sounds a little heavy, because tragedy is carries enough terror. And then to have a terrible tragedy is like having a double jeopardy of sorts. It speaks of a very, very unique situation. In this, I am really, because the first time I saw this video, it left me. I couldn't find words, you know, to interpret what I had seen for a while, because I have never seen where a public anxiety was reduced to a private ego, as the Speaker of the House of Representatives sought to do with an issue of that magnitude. There is no reason. You know, if Honorable Agwacha actually was within his right to say, look, even if I know that I could have, there is a possibility of reaching out to you, you know, first coming to talk to you, to lobby you or whatever, and he decides to come to the floor. I think the nexus, the connecting point between all of them is the Green Chamber. So why did Mr. Speaker think that, you know, that would not have given him the results that he wanted? I mean, we should, because it draws attention to some of the niggling questions about, you know, the Nigerian nation that all of us have to, you know, occasionally, you know, engage. You have to actually look inwards, reflect on those things that are crucial to, you know, unity and brotherhood in Nigeria. Sometimes we act as if what is happening in Maiduguri has no consequences on James Eze in the southeast, but it does. Because outside of this country, you are a Nigerian. Nobody wants to know whether you are Igbo or Yoruba or Hausa. Once you carry the Nigerian passport, whatever would have happened to someone who supports Boko Haram in Maiduguri will happen to you, because you know, the world has no time to begin to, you know, separate. Right. Absolutely. So we should show more concern if the unrest in the southeast is largely fueled by the continued detention of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. Why would someone who lives and does his business in Lagos not be worried about the you know, unrest in the east? You know, because ultimately it will reflect on you. Alex, you know what I'm talking about. Once you step outside the shores of this country, just yesterday I had a long conversation with someone from outside of this country, and the first thing that he told me was, Nigerians, you know, you people don't have a very good reputation, you know, and his allusion was to, you know, internet fraud. So it does not matter whether I knew anything about internet fraudsters or not. It doesn't matter whether I had friends or family who were involved, as long as, for him, as long as I was a Nigerian. Well, you know, you understand what I'm saying? I stood, you know, accused until I proved myself innocent. I don't know, you understand what I'm saying? So absolutely. It's akin to what the Igbo proverb, which, you know, Achebe popularized in Things Fall Apart, says that Ofumpulaka Lotammanu Ozulu, all right. It doesn't matter, you know, it doesn't matter whether you are from the north, the south, or the east. When Nigeria ails, it affects all of us, one way or the other.
So, with what's going on, the talks about Nnamdi Kanu is gathering momentum. Yeah. Omoyele Sowore says he's organizing a protest. I'm sure you're already aware of that. Yeah. Former Vice President Atiku Abubakar says he would join that march. And some people are calling for caution. if I have to bring up one of my mother's wise sayings. So, okay, so no manko. Okay, I don't know how to translate this, frankly. But James is a poet. He will do me the honors of translating. All right. So, I mean, it's just basically about warnings about bad company.
Yeah.
So that's the best way I can explain it.
Absolutely.
My mother warns about don't join those who will get away with trouble and you won't.
Yes.
I think that's the best way to explain it.
Yes.
So what is it now? Why is it suddenly attractive for Omoyele Sowore to join the call for the release of Nnamdi Kanu? What's the need for him? Is it national camaraderie?
Yeah, I think I need to even bring you up, up to speed on that. I think the last, bit of news that I read on that was that Sowore had visited Goodluck Jonathan.
That's correct. I saw that.
Jonathan had also
that he will speak with
Tinubu. Assured that he will speak with Tinubu. So I do not, for the life of me, want to think, like some of my brothers who are saying, be worried when, why would he suddenly take interest? A very good friend of mine even, stated that on Facebook today, and I laughed. I mean, we should try to avoid the tendency to be difficult to please. Ndibo should be. If my enemy suddenly begins to see merit in my point of view, my first reaction is to welcome him and begin to study him. Not to tell him, no, this course is not your course. I think that's the wrong strategy. Because what other Nigerians outside of the Southeast owe us is that feeling of oneness that comes from being our fellow compatriots. That that they realize that what affects us, even if it does not affect them directly, might in the end also affect them. And we are talking about Omoyele Sowore that has a long history of activism and non-conformity in his blood. And I admire him for being true to himself over the years. He has been in detention several times. He has been a man. Nobody is perfect. But at least in Omoyele Sowore, you can see a consistent pattern. Trying to stand for the masses, trying to point at wrongs in the society, and trying to hold some of our political leaders' feet to fire. And I think a man who has that kind of profile should not be dismissed with, a wave of the hand, and people who suddenly become so, self-ingratiating that they don't even want an outsider to take interest in a matter that has depressed us for how long. I think the more the merrier. For me, I'm particularly, fascinated by the fact that it seems to me, no matter what is igniting the recent passion from behind the scene, no matter what it is, I think, as the Bible says, all things work together for good. For those that, I don't want to, turn this into a scriptural session, but when my enemies finally begin to make a turnaround, and I agree with my point of view, I welcome them. And to make it even more ominous, in a positive way, you find out that it's not just Sowore that is making this dramatic turn. Atiku Abubakar that had been silent for so long started speaking up. Goodluck Jonathan, is involved. Femi Falana is also involved. So many people are speaking up. The ebb and tide in human affairs is bound to catch up on our situation sometimes. There are moments when even opposing factions come together to agree that, look, this is how did the French philosopher say it? An idea whose time has come. Victor Hugo. So this is an idea whose time has come. The time to actually free Nnamdi Kanu has come. That's why we are seeing people outside of the Southeast zone lending voices to the advocacy for his release. I think it's a very positive thing. And I would even wish that more people could join the crusade. And why would this not be the appropriate time?
Yes, now that you talked about timing, timing is perfect, but whose voices are missing from these calls?
No, I think that we should not look at it from the point of view of which voices.
Don't you think the more will be the merrier?
Yes, absolutely.
If there's a ruckus in your household, maybe when you were growing up, there must be someone. Whenever he speaks up, everything will be still, isn't it? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So in Southeast Nigeria, there will be a set of people when they speak with one voice. At least the president should at least give them a listening ear. Who are those people?
If you evidently are looking at the Southeast governors, those individuals are way too politically exposed to actually look at the interests of anybody else but theirs at the moment. They are fighting their the battles for their political lives. You know what is happening in the terrain. People are moving from one party to the other. There are rumors of defections, there are actual defections. There are threats of some highly performing governors, being thrown out because they are not part of the ruling party, and all of you think those things don't percolate to something very strong at the end of the day? If you were Alex Oti and you have someone breathing down your neck, screaming inanities, even if you know that you are one with your people, we have seen so many situations in Nigeria where the actual winners of the popular votes didn't end up victorious at the polls, but for the historic courage of Nena Oti, we would not have had Alex Oti. Just the other day I was looking at that video where she was recounting what happened, and she said, if I perish, I perish. That was courage speaking. And the only thing that it reminded me of was Dora Akunyele saying, if I die, I die. And what struck me was how remarkable it was that only Nigerian women have displayed that level of courage. I spent some time actually thinking about it and, saying, wouldn't our country, our affairs, be in safer hands if women were to actually occupy more, more important roles in terms of impact on people's work? Because some of these women have shown themselves to be people that cannot be swayed by anything, not even by detonating bombs behind their backs, because Nenoti would have caved in with all the pressure for money, threat for life and everything, and she stood her ground. And today Abia State has been liberated from a season of lack of ambition and in extreme ineptitude. Dora Akunyele did the same thing, but for Dora's courage, Nigeria would have wallowed without a clear leadership structure for years, because the original plan of those shadowy figures in Aso Rock was to keep the nation in the dark for as long as they could when Yaradua died. So the point I'm making is that we should actually look at some of these things. It might not necessarily be if we are expecting that people who occupy, or in fact, let me just be bold and say our governors will speak up. They are fighting for their lives. But the question is, what would they even have said? And what have the Southeast governors said in a period of 4 years that Nnamdi Kanu has been incarcerated? How many times have they spoken from the people who were in power at the time he was incarcerated to the people who took over? What substantive statements have they made? So the point is that I think that this is a very historic moment in the campaign to free Nnamdi Kanu, in the sense that figures outside of the Southeast are beginning to speak. It shows that, you know, this anomaly is beginning to worry the rest of the country. The anxiety is no more peculiar to the Southeast. More of our fellow Nigerians are beginning to, you know, feel our pain and say, why? Why you have set free other people who were caught in similar situations with this young man? Why is his case different? Even after the Kenyan court, you know what the Kenyan court said about Nnamdi Kanu's extraordinary rendition? It said it was illegitimate and awarded 10 million shillings in Kenyan shillings damages to Nnamdi Kanu for the Kenyan president allowing that travesty to happen in Kenyan soil. You understand? So everything that should lead, everything that should conduce to the release of Nnamdi Kanu is actually beginning to gather now. It doesn't matter whether the Southeast governors are speaking or not. I would actually hope that more people should speak out from outside of the Southeast than from within the Southeast.
Yes, correct. So some people are making the point that, well, the president may not be able to intervene until maybe when the trial is concluded. Whatever it is that the court pronounces for or against Kanu will now warrant the president to intervene. Do you also see this as a possibility? Because the only thing that can solve the problem, from all the analysis we've heard, is that the Attorney General will have to put in that they are no longer interested in pursuing the case, non-prosecutorial. They have a way they mention it in law. But that hasn't happened. And I'm sure that there were conversations around that last year. That hasn't happened. And the argument again is that, well, if Mazi Nnamdi Kanu was from the north or from the west, would this be the treatment?
Thank you. Alex, you have answered.
No, it's a question I asked.
No, you have answered your own question because, one, I think it is an error to say that there is something that the president of Nigeria cannot do. There is nothing that Mr. President cannot do in Nigeria. There is absolutely nothing. It's a question of willpower. Does he want to do it? If he decides to do it, he will do it. We live in Nigeria. We know the possibilities. Who is the Chief Justice of the Federation? Are there no conversations between the three arms of government? And who is in charge? Mr. President is in charge. He's the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Nigerian Armed Forces. But the question is, like you said earlier, are the critical voices speaking? Have our people spoken enough? I know Ohaneze has been quite consistent in his demand that Nnamdi Kanu be released. You know, but maybe Ohaneze's demand was not sufficient. My hope is that at some point we would have the Northern Leaders Consultative Assembly, or Arewa, what do they call it? That forum.
Arewa Consultative Forum.
Would also lend its voice, and Afenifere would lend its voice. When you have and the Middle Belt, what do they call it? Middle Belt Union or something like that. If you have these separate cultural groups speaking up about the same thing, this demanding that Nnamdi Kanu should be released, I tell you, Mr. President will have no choice than to listen to the voices of the people. I'm aware that Sheikh Hussaini has also joined the campaign, you know, among people demanding that Nnamdi Kanu be released. And I don't think that the campaign for Nnamdi Kanu's freedom has ever been as strident as it is now. I give it to Omoyele Sowore. Nobody is perfect. There are aspects of his activism that, you know, do not appeal to me. But more often than not, if you watch his consistency, his courage to speak and to address some of the things that some of us can't even name when you are talking in terms of Nigeria's foibles, and his ability to absorb the shock and horror of Nigeria and go in for it and come back unbroken with his strength renewed to fight on. And now, against the run of play, Sowore has decided to, appropriate this demand for Nnamdi Kanu's release. I think we should respect that, because it's quite reminiscent of the tradition that the leaders of the Southwest left for them. I'm talking about the Gani Fawemins of this world, the Beko Ransom Kutis, Taisho Larins. These were people who would stand up and tell you no to your face. I'm happy that finally Sowore is walking in the shadows of his great ancestors. I pray that at a point, we in the Southeast are able to also find men with that level of fire and courage and daring do to say, look, to hell with my personal freedom and convenience. Let's do the right thing. That's what this, and I don't think we should be skeptical. Are we skeptical when we finally have someone to lead the charge? We begin to pussyfoot over it. Why would we?
All right, we'll take a break, James. When we return from that break, we'll have more conversations here on the Eastern Eye. Stay with us. You're welcome back to the Eastern Eye here on Afia TV, a program that X-rays the political, social, and economic developments around us. We are still discussing about Nnamdi Kanu. Will he be free? Will he still be in detention? And the question is, who will tell the president to free Mazi Nnamdi Kanu? James Ngwu Eze, will the protest that is being planned by Omoyele Sowore be enough for the president to free Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, or would it require a high-powered delegation to the villa?
Thank you. That's a very important question, because what I just think is that the protests, peaceful as it promises to be, will be just a foot on the door. That's why I am hoping that more important voices would join the advocacy, the demand for Nnamdi Kanu's release before the 20th of this month, when the protest is scheduled to take place. And I think the court, the trial was adjourned to the 16th of this month once again. So this is a very important month. But I hope that under normal circumstances, really, if our political leaders, especially our governors, were not at the moment digging deep and fighting for their political lives, this would have been the time for them to also come together, and the various, cultural groups in Igbo land and even beyond should be having conversations. I recall very clearly when Chief Nyawodo was the President General of Ohanese. He maintained a very smooth and efficient network of communication with the various cultural groups across the country. I know because when Alex Ogbodo was buried, when he died and was buried in Oku, Anambra State, I was there and I saw virtually people from the Northern Leadership Forum. The Afenifere was strongly represented there. Our own people were there. Edwin Clark and all the leaders of the South were there, and it was essentially because of the instrumentality, so to speak, of Chief Nyawodo. I saw them. He had this personality, his ability to create an atmosphere of brotherhood and fellowship with all these people was very, very commendable. And I would have wished if we had someone like him functioning in that office. I don't know much about the President General of Ohanes and Igbo, but this is what I would expect someone in that position to do at this crucial moment. Let there be some sort of conversation going on, an effort to actually woo these other people to sell the imperatives of releasing Nnamdi Kanu outside of the interests that exist in the Southeast and win them over to this cause. Because I think that we all hurt. We are all hurting. The country is hurting as a result of, you might not understand, you might not know how each and every one of us carries this pain in our daily engagement with our fellow Nigerians. Sometimes we act without actually knowing why we do the things we do. Because if you have so many things to worry you, it is hard enough to be a Nigerian living in Nigeria under dire circumstances of our citizenship. Now, for you to come out with an extra injury, knowing that you come from a part of the country that their humanity has been trampled on, a part of the country has been made to feel less Nigerian than the rest of Nigerians. It adds to your injury, to the weight of your bitterness. And sometimes when you engage other people, or even engage your fellow, your brothers from the same ethnicity, there might not be easy agreement or even easy disagreement. There is so much bitterness, so much anger in the land. You only need to go to social media, which happens to be our modern playground, the ILO, where people meet, and you need to go there to see how we engage, if you are able to get to, maybe if you're on Facebook and you happen to break into a thread populated by nationals from other countries, the way they engage is different from the way we bite each other here.
That's correct.
You know, they focus on other things. They focus on the issue. There is so much humor. There is so much laughter in their conversations, in their exchanges. At the end of the day, you leave that place happy. But we engage with so much bitterness, with so much rancor. When we disagree, it is with abuses, with insults. I remember some of the few posts I have made on Facebook and how some people took it personal and attacked me and called me names. Why? For just saying my mind on an issue.
I've seen some of those.
Do you understand me? For saying my mind. Okay, if you disagree with the ideas I am projecting, why don't you state why do you attack my person? You understand what I'm saying? I blame it on the pressure and that is in the country. And I dare say, those of us from the Southeast actually walk around with extra pressure, and it is sad. It's about time some of these things are addressed, because psychologically we carry hidden injuries.
All right, James, all these conversations we've been having, no one has actually hazarded a guess to the kind of trauma the Nnamdi Kanu family must be facing. All this while he's been in detention, and the only time they get to see him and hug him will be anytime he makes an appearance in court. And now that it is obvious that his health is failing, it must be double mental torture for them, knowing that with every passage of second or minutes, that probably his life is just going away. It must be a really tough time for not just Nnamdi Kanu, but his family members, and by extension, the entire Igbo land, because I recall the words of the President General of Ohanes and Igbo in Oka during the Igbo Day. He said that if they are still holding Nnamdi Kanu, it means they are still holding every Igbo man there.
Thank you.
So how does that word resonate?
I'm glad that someone has enough intuition to make that assertion, because that's actually the case. The only Igbo who is not bothered by what is going on is the one without any consciousness. You know, if you are self-aware, there is no way you will be happy. It's like in my poem, Sit at Home, I actually try to address that. I say, when one soul in jail is a million consciences, in chains. You understand what I'm saying? There is no conscious Igbo man who is happy. Even if, the question is, this guy has been in detention for 4 years, from 2021 to 2025. And we've seen people who have treaded that path come and go. Some of them even were released to, no sooner were they released than they had started saying even worse things than what they said before they were detained in the first place. But this guy is being held. Again, the manner of his rendition from Kenya is a subject of international interest. And the Kenyan court has made a decisive pronouncement and awarded damages. Why is he still being held? So it's a trauma, not just for the Kanu family. And I've forgotten the name of his village. Is it the Beku in Omahia? I can't be precise. But it's not only for them, but for everyone who has enough consciousness to look at this matter dispassionately. That, this guy's health is beginning to fail. And the court, the appeal court, had acquitted him previously, only for the Supreme Court to subvert and upturn that judgment, and the trial recommenced. The Kenyan court had also weighed in with its own judgment. So why is this man? I think the current plea is for him to be allowed to have access to better Medicare somewhere, right? So why is it so difficult to grant that plea? I think that President Tinubu would have, written his name in gold amongst discerning Igbo people if he were to, exercise that courageous act of releasing Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. In fact, when he took over the affairs of this country, most of us, in particular, I was very optimistic because I knew that there was nothing that anybody would have done that would make President Buhari of blessed memory free Nnamdi Kanu, because they had a personal issue. But President Tinubu, it's a different personality, and one that I personally was expecting would understand the circumstances and the nuance involved in Nnamdi Kanu's case better than Buhari, because he was also a pro-democracy figure in his younger days. He fought the military, fought dictatorship. So he has walked in Nnamdi Kanu's shoes, even if the circumstances were not exactly the same. But if you have the spirit of, I no go gree, it is the same spirit. The spirit of saying, look, I have had enough. Enough. It is the same. The capacity of the human will to rise against all odds, to assert its preferences, because the world leaves us with multiple choices. I had a choice not to be here on this program talking about Nnamdi Kanu, but I chose to come. So it's just the same thing for someone to say, look, I want to join the pro-democracy movement, I want to fight the military, or for another to say, look, my people have been so marginalized that I don't see any need for us to continue to be a part of the Nigerian nation, except we are treated better, and begins to, get into the rhetorics of pursuing that dream of equity and fairness for his people. So I think my expectation at the inception of President Tinubu's, regime was that he would be more, dispassionate in looking at the nuances of the Nnamdi Kanu heritage, because he inherited that. So he would be tragic if he avoids it until he exits off it so another person takes it over. History will not remember him with kindness.
You know, I think this will be a good place to leave this. I have to thank you so much, James Ngwu Eze, for your insights on the program tonight. And of course, the hope from here and from every other place within the South is that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is released, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, thank you so much.
Well,
that's the Eastern Eye for today. Thank you for watching. My name is Alex Ogbodo. Good night.